Good afternoon. Today I'll be discussing the documentary The 13th by Ava DuMagy, which investigates how the 13th Amendment steered the United States' large corporations to form a loophole, causing the outbreak of mass incarnation and its long history of racism, abuse, whilst criminalising the black community, especially black men, over nothing more than their colour. Ava DuVernay uses a wide range of multimodal elements, including audio as interviews, visual being archival footage, and written being articles and laws and statistics of imprisonment rates increasing, as DuVernay walks you through the timelines from the KKK to the war on drugs and the growth of incarnation. The strong ideas DuVernay explores all show the utterly broken imbalance of power, shown within the United States' large corporations, politicians, and leaders. In 13, DuVernay integrates interviews of a proportion of credible people who have experienced, witnessed, or have been impacted by this imbalance of power formed through discrimination and prejudice. DuVernay uses such people being Angela Davis, who is a famous activist, and others in politics, the law and business who know the ins and outs of what truly happened behind the light of the law. DuVernay's use of Angela Davis truly aids in generating the ideas of mass incarnation, imbalance in power, and racial prejudice, as Davis herself has experienced lots of this segregation and systematic laws that work against her people to push them down into being able to be controlled by power. Davis sheds the insight into subjects of mass incarnation and how they use the media to racially vilify civil rights activists like herself. She was found in the media on many occasions being racially vilified for her trying to stand up against white supremacy, just so she and her community can feel safe at home and not think, when am I next? Davis says, they wanted to send me to the death chamber just to make a point. A strong case of how DuVernay wanting to generate this idea that if you fight the system, they'll use their power through law to throw you down just to gain more power. And Davis is a strong example of this power being used against a minority to gain control. Another powerful quote by Michelle Alexander, a civil rights advocate, which highlights exactly what DuVernay is trying to say within these different interviews and different people, is that throughout American history, African Americans have repeatedly been controlled through systems of racial and social control that appear to die, but then are reborn in new forms tailored to the needs and constraints of the time. DuVernay explores the very nature of capitalism in America and how it is being abused by those in power, providing evidence into her findings of this imbalance of power through the use of visual written articles, laws, and punishments that were dehumanizing the black community in all stages of imbalancement. As says behind me, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have duly convicted, shall exist within the United States. This law that DuVernay shows on your screen, not only to hear it, but to read it, and read those words that are in bold, except as a punishment for crime, are highlighted to really embody this idea DuVernay is trying to prove that big corporations are doing anything they can to form this loophole of segregation to be able to imprison and enslave the black community without anyone suspecting or disagreeing with this idea, as it is a form of punishment. Of course, everyone's going to agree if someone's done something wrong, but she is trying to generate in her documentary how it isn't a form of punishment, and it's just a way large corporations like ALEC, which is the American Legislative Executive Corporation, is able to take away black people and shine them under this light as criminals to stay within the law, which is taking it back to how the world was at the time of the KKK and the slavery era, which is why the 13th Amendment was made in the first place, to stop this kind of thing happening. But due to this large imbalance of power, they can change the rules to fit the laws and still degrade the lives of black community and exploiting them into slavery. To help add an extra element of visual help to generate these ideas of imbalance and the rates of mass incarnation, she's using statistics that show the gradual increase along the years of major events and times that should be helping to stop the imbalance of power, but are only leading to what shows an increase in incarnation of the black community. DuVernay first shows you the statistics that the United States makes up 5% of the world's population, but a whopping 25% of the world's prisoners. Then, following this statistic, DuVernay shows that black men only make up 6% of the population, but make up 40.2% of the prison population in America. The contrast of these two stats is generating this idea again about the imbalance of power through colour, the segregation, and how the power can truly destroy a community if they have enough of it. DuVernay then walks you through the different stages of history. As you follow along, she shows you the slowly rising population, which takes off quite soon after the war on drugs. This war on drugs was pretty much just a war against the whites and the black men without having to fight. They fed drugs into lower economic communities of black people, allowing the drugs to take over these communities quite quickly and allowing the whites to take more control and really shine the light on that blacks are criminals. To the media, to brainwash other white people in power to be able to go with the Republicans and degrade the community that is shown as criminals, but they truly aren't. After the 13th Amendment, which was supposed to stop slavery and segregation, she shows even more a rise in prison population, as shown here. The population just keeps going up, and how the prison population is driving, when really, as the modern day goes on, it really should be going down. She really shines a light on this imbalance of power. DuVernay really shows the statistics that is truly powerful in her message of this mass incarnation of black men. She shows statistics that is truly powerful in her message of this mass incarnation of, as it shows, black men being 1 in 3 black men will be imprisoned and only 1 in 17 white men will be in prison, which is a drastic contrast, really proving and embedding the strong message DuVernay is providing into the brains of the viewers. So, to conclude, DuVernay's use of audio as interviews, visual being archival footage, and written being articles, laws, and statistics of imprisonment rates increasing has aided her to be able to generate these ideas around mass incarnation and America's long history of racism and abuse whilst criminalising the black community, especially black men, over nothing more than their colour. 13th shows the extreme imbalance of power and how it is criminalising a whole population due to the control that the white leaders and large corporations have over these people in the United States. Thank you for listening.